Well, I'm very pleased that the tenor of the meeting between Boris Johnson and Pedro Sanchez, which was a very wide meeting on all the issues between the United Kingdom and Spain. It wasn't a bilateral meeting on Gibraltar, which would not have been acceptable to the government of Gibraltar. But the tenor of it was a very positive tenor. And in the context of Gibraltar, the references made, as we worked with our Foreign Office colleagues to ensure the Prime Minister understood was the position of Gibraltar, were actually very positive, very optimistic, very forward-looking, and hoping that we will soon be able to start the negotiation of the EU-UK treaty, which will encompass in a treaty the things that we've agreed in the New Year's Eve agreement with our Spanish colleagues, which should form the basis of that new understanding between Gibraltar and the European Union.
Do you have any inkling as to when those negotiations will start and when we can expect a final deal?
Well, I have inklings, but I don't have anything which is firm, and therefore I don't think it makes sense at this stage to set out any more detail because there isn't anything concrete. Remember that we wanted, if possible, to be able to complete the negotiation in 6 months. That hasn't been possible, but it hasn't blunted the desire of either the Spanish, United Kingdom or Gibraltar parts to bring this negotiation to a conclusion which is successful in the establishment of a treaty. So, look, if you ask me to guess, and it is no more than a guess, I think that we were always looking at beyond June, and we were likely looking towards the end of the year, and that is what I think will likely be the case. But I'd say let's look at this in quarters. Let's try and finish this by the end of the third quarter of the year if we can, so that we can set up the beginning of the year as the date when things might come into effect. And if we can't, let's not fall into the trap of giving ourselves a hard date by which we must do something, and if we don't, we simply walk away from what might be a very good potential outcome for all of the people of this region, Gibraltar in particular.
And what of the interim mitigation measures in place until we have that deal? Can we expect those to continue, given that we've seen Spain, for example, taking matters into its own hands with frontier management?
So I don't think that's what you've seen at the frontier. I'll come to that in a moment. But yes, you can expect to see the extension of the Memoranda of Understanding. You can expect to see the extension of bridging measures extended to Gibraltar by Spain. And you can expect to see the frontier continue to operate as it is today. I think what you've seen at the frontier is different departments looking at what their obligations post the United Kingdom's departure from the European Union is, and not understanding the other obligations or agreements that have been entered into. You've now seen that the frontier has settled back down. Today it is flowing freely. It was flowing freely yesterday when you had the influx of people coming into Gibraltar for having spent the long weekend, many thousands of Gibraltarian vehicles and families coming back into Gibraltar. And all the reports I have is that the frontier has now settled once again into the management as it was before we had those issues last week.